In the next few minutes, we're going to take a look at using layer effects as well as fill layers with our shape layers because they're going to give us a little bit of additional flexibility and control. So in the previous video, we talked about changing the fill attribute of shape layers. And we learned that was very easy. If a shape layer is selected and you want to change the color, you can just pick a different swatch, or if we go to gradients, you can pick a different gradient, or if you go to patterns, you can even add a different pattern. All right, let's just return to swatches there, and I'll just select that original color. All right, but what happens if I want to add both a pattern and a gradient? Or what if I want to add two different colors because I'm not sure which color I want to go with, or maybe I'm making a button and I need multiple states of that button? That's when layer effects can really be an advantage. So from the bottom of the effects panel, I'll click on the effects icon, and let's just start with a gradient overlay. Now, we aren't going to cover everything about layer styles. I'll go more in depth later in this course, but for now, for the gradient, I'll click the downward pointing triangle, and let's pick something very different like one of these blues. So we'll select that, and now I'm going to add a pattern overlay. But when I add a pattern overlay, we can't actually see it. If I change this pattern to maybe one of the grass patterns, I still can't see it, and that's because the gradient overlay is added on top. So if I click on gradient overlay and I change the blend mode to something like multiply, if I really want to kind of force it to multiply that color, or maybe we can do something a little more subtle, I'll just use the color mode there. So now we have the color of the gradient, but it's still revealing the pattern underneath. We could also add another color overlay on top if we just wanted to see what a solid color would look like. And when I click OK, we can see in the Layers panel, we have these three different effects, which I can toggle the visibility of by just clicking on the eye icon next to each one of them. So in this case, I think I like the color overlay the best. So we could just even hide those other ones, or we could select it, or we could click on it and then just drag it to the trash. But the color overlay is only being added to that single layer. If I want to add it to multiple layers, well, I could right click and then choose to copy the layer style, then click on my other layers and paste them. But I think it's going to be easier to just drag the effect to the layer group and apply it to the group. Because if I apply it separately to each layer and then I want to make a change, I'd have to go in and change it 4 times. Whereas here, I can just make the change once. So again, this might be very helpful if you need 2 states of a document, or if you're just not sure what color you want to use, because if I toggle this off, we see the original color that's been applied to that shape's fill. Okay. Another way that we can make changes to our shape layers that give us a little bit of added control is by using a fill layer. So I'll target the circles adjustment layer, and we should probably see what happens if I just add it to a single circle, and then we'll add it to the group. So with a single circle selected, I'm going to use the adjustment layer icon, and let's add a gradient fill layer. Let's make sure that we can see the change. So I'm going to select another color here. Let's just scroll down, maybe a darker blue color, and then I'll click OK. But we can see that the gradient fill is being added, and it's basically hiding all of the layers that are underneath it. So in order to have the gradient fill only affect the circles, I can use the layer menu and then choose Create Clipping Mask. But now it's only affecting these 4 circles, and I'd really like it to affect all of the circles in the design. So let's undo that using Command Z, and then I'm going to reposition the layer in the stacking order. I'm going to drag up and release my cursor when I see just that narrow cyan horizontal line, and that's going to drop it between these 2 layer groups. Then with the gradient fill layer targeted, I can now choose Layer, Create Clipping Mask, and this time it will clip it to the layer group that has all of the circles in it, so it'll be applied to all of them at once. Now I can add multiple fill layers, so if I wanted to add another one, like maybe a pattern fill layer, I could go ahead and do that. But what I think is even more important is that you'll notice that the gradient fill layer or the pattern or the solid color fill layer all have a layer mask. So if I click on that mask icon and say select my gradient tool, and let's reset the gradient by right-clicking on it. I'll choose Reset Tool, and then I can just click and drag from the top, moving down, and now you can see that I can selectively show and hide the contents of that fill layer. So to me, that can be a big advantage if that's the look that you're after. So as you can see, using layer effects or using color fill layers gives us a little bit more control over the attributes that are applied to our shape layers.